because I mean, paid search alone is not going to do much, right? Like if you're just running paid search, like you're going to be constrained pretty quickly and heavily, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the eComm Growth Show. Let's go. Alrighty, well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the eComm Growth Show. Today we have with us Phil Weaver, who works over at Purple Mattress, and he runs the paid search department over there. So we're really excited to have him on and see what we can learn. Welcome to the show, Phil.
Thanks, Robbie. Excited to be here.
Heck yeah, man. Why don't we start? Why don't you tell me just a little bit about your personal life, the work you do, and why you love it so much?
Nice. Yeah. So I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. And in my free time, I coach soccer and play a little bit. And then, I studied business marketing here at the University of Utah and got my master's in business at the University of Portland, and kind of just fell into that marketing advertising realm, and just ended up through multiple different advertising jobs, ended up in paid search and found it to be a good fit for me. Just because it requires so much of the left brain and the right brain thinking that really challenged me and grew to love it over time. So ended up kind of just sticking with that over the last couple of years, and it's been a great ride.
Very cool, man. And I'm really excited to have you on because your focus is specifically on paid search, whereas we're in the paid game as well, but a lot more on just like the social media side. So really excited to pick your brain on some of the biggest differences, how you think about those differently, and just kind of what the name of the game is over at doing paid search.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, what are like when it comes to paid search, what are maybe just describe for us a little bit of your process there, how you think about it, what some of your goals are when you're looking at selling these mattresses, and just kind of start to dive into the conversation and let us know what it's all about.
Yeah. So the way that we look at it is, I mean, we have two very different perspectives on our account when it comes to paid search. There's the branded side, and then there's the non-branded side. And so, when it comes to branded, it's, that's a low-hanging fruit. That's stuff where, we expect to just show up and make sure that we own and protect our brand in a way. And then when it comes to the non-branded side, we see that as, a much lower performing channel for us, but something that, we obviously, we advertise into try and see growth and trying to expand sales and whatnot. So those are really like the two main ways that we look at it, making sure that we own our brand, but also try and look for that growth and expansion through the non-paid side. And so,
that makes sense. The first time I had heard about your guys' company was when I had seen the ad with like the Goldilocks and the Three Bears and testing the eggs out on the mattresses and finding the mattress that was just right. How long ago was that? And do you guys still run that creative, or tell me a little bit about that ad specifically? Because I feel like a lot of people recognize the brand through that ad, at least in my circles.
No, for sure. I mean, it's done a lot for the company for sure. And that's been, I don't even know how many years. That's probably been like 3-4 years ago or something like that. But we did just do a new video last year for a 5-year anniversary, and it included the same actress that was in that ad, and like kind of replicated it. And we pulled in all the old actors that we had used in some of our previous, crazier ads with like the Sasquatch and stuff like that.
Okay.
Still using some of that content and that idea a little bit, but it's done really well for us for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. And is that something that where do you guys run that ad? It's probably not so much in your paid search stuff, but Does it live on the website? Is that something you guys are running on social?
Yeah, I mean, we're huge on YouTube, and
Okay.
so yeah, we do a lot of video ads on YouTube. We spend a pretty decent amount of money on there. And then I'm not sure in terms of other video advertising where we're putting it, but yeah, I'd say our biggest channel there is for YouTube.
Cool. And then do you see a lot of correlation between when paid search stuff is going well, you see like stuff on YouTube performing well, and they kind of work off of each other and kind of help build each other up at all?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we definitely try and look at all of our channels from a holistic perspective, because I mean, paid search alone is not going to do much, right? Like if you're just running paid search, like it's you're going to be constrained pretty quickly and heavily, right? And so when we're pushing out email campaigns, like we know when those email campaigns are going out, and so we change our bidding accordingly. When we're doing a big push on YouTube, if Google comes to us and says, hey, we can get you these spots and these banners that are going to be put you at the top of the page and everything like that, then we know about that, and then we start pushing heavily on our bidding or in certain search terms accordingly. So yeah, we really try and look at a more of a holistic perspective where everyone's working together, because one channel alone just is not gonna make us rich. So
Yeah, totally. And how do you guys, so if you have like your overall marketing budget for all the channels, how much, like what percentage of that would you guess goes to paid search?
yeah, so one of our biggest channels is paid social, and then we're right underneath that with paid search. So yeah, in terms of percentage, overall, yeah, we're probably 25% of overall marketing.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's quite a bit.
And then for somebody who hasn't necessarily like done a lot of paid search, would you think that would be a good place to start, is just maybe starting with or even a lower percentage, just to get, like, I guess first of all, like you said, definitely have your branded stuff locked down, like all your branded keywords, make sure you're owning that. And then from there, it's more the descriptive stuff, right?
Yeah, and it's gonna vary from company to company, right? Like, so yeah, it's hard to say like a good rule of thumb, but yeah, I was looking at one of my friend's accounts the other day, who is a CEO of this like lifestyle brand for clothing and backpacks, right? And he was having me audit their account because they had an agency running it, and he's like, oh yeah, they say they're getting a really good ROAS and whatever. And so I checked it out, and it was like completely branded, right? There was no non-brand at all in it. And and he had no clue, and obviously the agency wasn't telling him. They're just saying, hey, you're getting a great ROAS, and he's thinking it's completely incremental and stuff like that. So and on top of that, like, he didn't even have any competitors on his brand name. And so
that makes it pretty easy.
Yeah, so no competitors on his brand name, and they're getting a great ROAS. And so even in that scenario, I'm like, if they're kind of a smaller startup company, and it's like you don't even need to be running brand if your SEO showing up. Like, why are you even paying for ads at that point?
Yeah.
So that's why I say it's hard to find that rule of thumb, because some companies, maybe they don't even need to run brand because they don't have anybody that's really bidding on their name. And then, but yeah, somewhere in that 10 to 20% range seems about right to me in terms of, thinking about the holistic perspective of it.
Yeah, definitely. And then when you're looking at, other brands who are running paid search, what are like some of the biggest mistakes you see happening in people's paid search marketing?
Yeah. There's a lot of them, but the number one thing is, like, that I see is, it seems like the majority of these accounts are trying to like boil the ocean when it comes to keywords, right? Yeah. Like, it's like, thousands of keywords that you can't even have a grasp of what's going on. It's one of the best things you can do as like a PPC advertiser is to create the account yourself, right? From the very bottom to the top. And because then you have a understanding of really what's going on throughout the entire account.
Yeah.
If you just step into account and, and just look at the keywords and the ad groups, sometimes it's hard to get like a really good full perspective of what's going on. So yeah, I think too many accounts, I see way too many of them that are just thousands of keywords. They don't really know what's going on. And then like we talked about earlier, they're not separating brand from non-brand, right? It's super important to separate the brand from the non-brand to understand really this is our incremental traffic. This is our top of funnel traffic that's going to take a longer buying cycle, and then this is our lower funnel branded stuff that we expect to see a return on.
Yeah. And then when they're doing too many keywords, is that just like spreading their budget too thin and it's just not focused or productive, or what's the main downfall of having so many different keywords?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. They end up spending a ton of money on keywords that, they don't even on search queries that they don't even know that they're showing up for. A lot of advertisers will just take whatever Google's recommendations are, and they'll just apply them because Google recommends it.
Yeah.
So they think it's a good thing, and then really Google's MO and what they're trying to do is get people to, get companies to spend more. So they're not paid based on a return from the company. They're paid based on how much you spend with them, right? How much you pay per click. So that's really their what their motive is. So yeah, I mean, they're spending way too much on keywords that are probably more broad match modified, these type of match types that are showing up for anything under the sun, and then you don't see a return on it. So
gotcha. And then for you, as far as like limiting yourself, are you just basically doing off where you're getting the best returns, or what is it? What's the criteria for how far out you are doing some of those broad matches or keyword expansion?
Yeah. So the question is like, how much are we trying to see a return, or?
Yeah, I guess it's just what's your decision process look like in terms of like adding new keywords, testing new keywords, or just sticking with kind of like your core group of what works well?
Yeah, it's a great question, and something that me and my team are constantly trying to assess. Is, and it's not an easy thing to do, because you can look at a keyword or a search query and be like, well, that's relevant, but maybe I could see somebody searching for this and they're in the upper funnel, which could be good for us, but maybe it's not. And we don't have it down to a science. And I don't think anybody does, but I mean, the best things you can do is, one, get off last click attribution, making sure that you're on a position based or data driven attribution model. So that way you're understanding full funnel. And then, we'll take the last 6 months and see which keywords are giving us a return on our ad spend. And then the ones that really aren't, then we assess and see, is it because it's a low quality score? Then if that's the case, but it seems like a good keyword, then we'll keep it and we'll try and work with it and, improve the landing page experience and the ad relevancy and the expected click-through rate, and see if we can make it work. And then if not, then we'll end up tossing it. But it's not an easy thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it gets there's a lot to consider once you get into it, and when you're getting to your type of spend and your type of optimization, like there's just a lot that goes into those decisions. So it makes sense that it's it's a full-blown process, and you have a whole team of people working on that kind of thing. So you guys put a lot of your focus when it comes to paid search on Google and Bing, is that correct? And is there big differences between doing those two different spots, or like what are the main differences?
Yeah, great question. But yeah, huge differences. So Bing only has last click attribution,
Okay.
and so which is massive, right? Like when you
Hmm.
think of the buying cycle for someone who's purchasing a $3,000-$4,000 mattress, that's not like going to happen within 2 days, right?
Yeah,
That's going to
right.
be they're looking for the next big sale that's coming up in 3 months, whether it's
Uh-huh.
Black Friday or Memorial Day or something like that, and then they're waiting for 3-4 months before they drop 4 grand in on a
Hmm.
mattress. So yeah, Bing doesn't have last click attribution, and so that severely affects our non-branded efforts on Bing. And
Yeah.
it's a conversation that we have with our Bing reps all the time. It's like, we've basically paused a lot of our a majority of our non-branded efforts on Bing, just because we don't see a return on our ad spend, and there could be a return there, but Bing's just not tracking it. We're not able to see it. So yeah, that's kind of like the biggest issue.
Yeah. And
Big,
you touched on attribution, and it's interesting. We just switched everything we have into our agency. We're using a software called Hyros. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but do you guys use any type of tools like outside of Google Analytics or attribution software to make sure you are getting stuff outside of the last click attribution?
yeah, we're using it's called C3
Okay.
that we have across, and so um, yeah, it's kind of hit or miss for us. But we're still trying to determine the value. We've been with them for what is it, like a year and a half maybe. But yeah, it's yeah, an age old question of trying to pinpoint every dollar spent to revenue and try and connect the dots. Yeah, but yeah.
Do you guys ever have so like when you have different people running different channels over at your company, do you guys have any types of I guess like cannibalization, or like certain people trying to say that revenue is attributed to their channel versus your channel, or how do you guys rectify that?
Um, yeah, I mean, there's definitely that, and that's above my pay grade. I don't. I leave that up to the VP and let her try and sort it out to figure out which one's performing the best, but and where she wants to allocate revenue to that. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah.
no, that makes sense. One question I have is what are some of your KPIs, some of your growth targets? How do you look at taking what you use and setting goals?
Yeah, so um, the KPIs, like I mentioned for brand, was very much like impression share.
Okay.
So trying to own that impression share and see like, okay, like, and specifically kind of like the top impression share, right? And there's different impression share metrics within Google Ads, and so top impression share is like the top 4 spots in Google, and seeing how many times you show up in those spots. So that's really our biggest metric for brand, and then non-brand. Um, it's pretty simple. I mean, yeah, we're just going off of our return on ad spend there,
Mm-hmm.
and that fluctuates throughout the year, right? As we're
Mm-hmm.
going into bigger sales, we'll drop our targets, and we'll be a bit more aggressive and go after all the demand that's there. Um, but obviously within that, you're looking at to optimize campaigns. You're looking at all the other different metrics, like to try and understand like where you're showing up. So
Mm-hmm.
one thing that we just got up and going was some like in-house like script reporting based on our quality score.
Okay.
So to really understand how our quality score, how we can improve it or
Mm-hmm.
see where we're lacking, and then using those metrics to improve it so we can decrease our costs and yeah, and show up in more auctions.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, I think the listeners are ready for your growth advice. What's kind of like a one hitter that's everybody should be thinking about when it comes to paid search?
Yeah. I think like for growth advice, and when I'm talking growth, I'm speaking more specifically to the prospecting and non-branded side, where I think that's true growth within page search. And when it comes to that, it's understanding your conversion lag,
Mm-hmm.
knowing how long it takes, the buying cycle, how long it takes somebody to actually make a purchase from the first time they click to when they actually purchase, is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And being patient with that, being patient long enough. I see too many companies that don't understand the buying cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they don't understand how long that conversion lag is going to be, and then they bail before they start seeing the sales come in. So it's a matter of being patient,
Mm-hmm.
understanding your buying cycle, and your break even ROAS points when it comes to your growth campaigns.
That's
And
super
then
good. And you kind of alluded to it, but what is your guys' buying cycle? Is it like a 3-month buying process somewhere in there? Because it's how much is the average mattress you guys sell?
yeah, average we're about around $2,000.
Okay, so that's a
Yeah.
big ticket item for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty decent size. So, um, and depends on our campaigns, but I mean, like for our non-branded campaigns, yeah, we're right under like that 28 to 30-day buying cycle,
Okay, gotcha.
and it could be longer depending on our more like upper funnel campaigns, but and then our branded campaigns, it's a lot shorter, like 2 weeks. So.
Cool. Cool. Well, thanks, Phil, so much for hopping on. Guys, if you enjoyed what you heard today, be sure to like this, share it, subscribe to it so that other people can be learning here as well. And we'll see you guys next time on the eComm Growth Show.